Okay, not too long ago I covered a topic where Titanfall, the original game, and Titanfall 2 were under siege by a hacker named John Yu. I'll link those videos down below because there is quite a bit of backstory here, but to summarize, many years ago, an original Titanfall player, ridiculed for his inability to compete in the game, resorted to hacks and cheats to get around that problem. Those hacks and cheats were a half measure, sort of, which still did not allow him to dominate the competitive scene, and eventually he got much more serious. The hacker, John Yu, released what he called atomic bombs, which were best described as huge and very sophisticated bot attacks on the vulnerable, poorly designed Titanfall servers. There were tactics where he created usernames that had thousands of foreign characters in them, which would then crash the server whenever he joined. There were systems where he flooded the entire finite public server list with bots that occupied all of the spaces, and ultimately, he killed the game. I don't say this in the traditional, oh, it's dead because it's not as popular kind of way. No, he killed the game. Titanfall 1 is unplayable, totally and completely. The game cannot be joined, the servers are full, literally full, on PC with his bots, at least they were last time I checked and had been for almost a year, and yet the game is still being sold on Steam as a purchasable product. I am convinced that Respawn and EA are violating laws here. I'm not a lawyer, but it would seem so to me, seeing as they have been fully aware that the game is completely unplayable on PC on that platform for quite some time. But the ultimate takeaway is that a vindictive hacker flat out killed the original Titanfall game. The thing is, he wasn't done. Having successfully invaded and destroyed the original, he moved on to the sequel. Since the sequel was significantly more popular than the original though, he was unable to fully populate the public server list and kill the game. Instead, he resorted to a streamer blacklist, if you will. This blacklist had a few different iterations, but the most effective version would instantly crash the server, including all players also in the match with the streamer, whenever a streamer placed on the blacklist joined an active game. The blacklist, as far as I know, has had a few short instances where it gets deactivated, but always resurfaces without fail, and is able to track players, particularly streamers, across multiple accounts as well as IP addresses. I'm not entirely sure how it functions directly, but the main theory revolves around some sort of exploitation within the actual server system itself, which is largely based on cloud computing. Again, I have a far more in-depth analysis in the previous video, but since the DDoSing is based on a dynamic cloud computing server IP, it's reasonable to assume that the hacker has broken into the Strider matchmaking engine that Respawn uses in some capacity, and is now able to circumvent every single protective measure that Respawn or the modding community create. Basically, he's on track to kill the sequel as well. Now, this might be the proper time to say I probably know who this hacker is, or at least the household the hacker comes from, since it's unclear if it's the husband or the wife, and I was sent an anonymous document during my previous coverage which contains phone recordings, physical addresses, names, court history, internet activity archives, text messages, and so much more. Someone in the Titanfall community dug deep, very deep, to find this information, and wanted to get it out there. The thing is, if there is even a 1% chance it's wrong, even though I strongly believe it to be accurate, I can't dox anyone. It's innocent until proven guilty in this country. I'm not a leftist. I'm only saying this to underpin the fact that the Titanfall 2 community is sick and tired of being ignored by Respawn, who has known about these issues in the previous titles for years and done nothing at all substantial to solve them. So they have started taking matters into their own hands. That brings us to the 4th of July 2021. What some people might not know is that Apex Legends is actually a part of the Titanfall universe. Apex Legends does not serve as a proper sequel to Titanfall 2, but it's still a part of that world. And Apex Legends is the golden child of Respawn and EA owing to its massive popularity. I'll admit for a while it seemed like the game was on its way out the door, with a massive decline in player base, but that trend has reversed completely, and just on Steam charts we can see concurrent player counts above 100 to 200 plus thousand. That's 50 to 100 times higher than Titanfall 2, and obviously it's far more lucrative. EA and Respawn are deliberately ignoring the Titanfall 2 community as they languish in a hacker-dominated hellscape, and on July 4th, they had enough. Counter-hackers, whether it be an individual or group, I'm not sure, breached the Apex Legends infrastructure, an easy feat when compared to many other games out there, owing to the rickety and insecure foundational engine systems, in order to place a help request message and a plea of save Titanfall while disabling the matchmaking capabilities for those affected. This hack lasted most of the day and required a large emergency hotfix, something that will obviously be done for Apex Legends, but never for Titanfall 2 or 1, despite those games still being sold each and every day on Steam by a company that knows one of them is fully unplayable and the other is on that very same track, and has known this for years. The hack also delivered a pop-up message that prompted players to go to savetitanfall.com, which is a website dedicated to raising awareness and trying desperately to get Respawn to do something, anything about these problems in the previous games. However, the website itself very quickly after the hack went live put a disclaimer at the top distancing themselves from the attack. I don't know who owns, operates, or directly controls the website. I don't know if it's true or not. I suspect it's true that they had nothing to do with it. But taking them at their word, which I do believe is true, it would appear that someone else decided enough is enough and attempted to damage the golden goose of Respawn, hoping to force them into action and finally get something, anything done. Setting aside the ethics of hacking to solve a hacker problem or denying others the game that they enjoy to try and get back the game that you enjoy, which is an exceptionally gray area in the current scenario, we have to remember that there are two villains here. Surely, yes, the hacker John Yu and his comrades are a central antagonist in the story, but Respawn and EA are almost equally as guilty. Respawn and EA are deliberately ignoring this community. They flat out deliberately refuse, and have refused for years to fix the game. They intentionally allow this to continue, and when this golden child of EA, Apex Legends, gets hacked, it's fixed within hours. The community is at war with itself, and the developers are fanning the flames. What started as a hacker versus a player base is now an inter-franchise communal battleground where fans of one game are shutting down the other games in the series to try and get people to wake up to the fact that they have been neglected and ignored for years. John Yu, the hacker behind all of this, would probably be thrilled. His mission is to destroy the Titanfall franchise, and it's a mission he has pursued meticulously for multiple years. However, the simple fact that Respawn allows their unplayable game, Titanfall 1, to be sold on Steam, even entering Steam's sale periods to spike the buyer metrics, indicates that they are absolutely to blame for the current state of affairs. You cannot sell a $20 game that is literally unplayable, and then ignore the people who ask for help with that. Respawn deserves to be raked over the coals as many times as humanly possible because their neglect of the community and obvious preferential treatment of titles has created a rift in their own fan base. Titanfall, as a franchise, is being torn apart by hackers, not just the hackers taking down the earlier titles, but the hackers responding to their years of neglect by Respawn and taking down the newer titles. The infrastructure of these games is so piss poor that it's easily possible to do all of this, and it's been possible for a long time with no meaningful security overhaul whatsoever, which indicates that there might be no end in sight. I would speculate that this was a well-intentioned but misguided fan of the original Titanfall games who desperately wanted to raise awareness. Again, Respawn and EA are largely to blame here, but that well-intentioned effort has caused quite a bit of damage. The hack has created an even larger rift between Apex Legends and Titanfall 1 and 2. It has caused an inaccurate link between savetitanfall.com, a group of amazing people who sincerely just want to play the game that they love. I've chatted with quite a few of them in that community on the topic, but it created a link between savetitanfall.com and the perceived malicious action of taking down Apex Legends. A large number of people who have done absolutely nothing wrong and suffered in silence for years while Respawn intentionally leaves their favorite game in a broken, unplayable state are forced to clear their name or defend themselves from accusations. Instead of having relief for these problems, hacking a game to solve the hacker problem in another game just doesn't seem to be the right tactic. There's been a long-standing perception in the Titanfall 2 community, even by dedicated and connected community leaders who have worked with, visited, or interacted with Respawn on more than one occasion, that they are deliberately ignored, and the only time that Respawn will engage with them now, at all, or try to fix anything, is when it synchronizes with some sort of Apex Legends promotional event. This means that anything they do is temporary and PR driven, which ultimately breeds resentment. I can empathize with the hacker, not John Yu, the one who killed Titanfall 1 and is trying to kill Titanfall 2, but the hacker who took down Apex Legends desperately trying to force Respawn's hand. I can empathize with that because one of two things is true. Either A, the server infrastructure employed by Respawn is so ass-backwards broken, it cannot be fixed without a complete overhaul, and they/EA are choosing not to do that, or B, the fix is not incredibly difficult, or does not require a total overhaul, and they are choosing not to do it once again. When it's been this long and the problems are this bad, and they are still selling the game on the Steam store, yeah, they are choosing this. They deliberately allow this to happen. They deliberately sell an unplayable product and even put it on sale to spike the numbers. They deliberately fan the flames of inter-community animosity, and they are becoming a villain almost as bad as the original hacker himself. Get your shit together, Respawn. Do something. This is your fault as much as anyone else's. When the problems of Titanfall 1 get brought up, even for those with a direct line of communication to Respawn employees themselves, they get ghosted. The game could ethically be removed from sale on PC until it's playable again. But no. It could be prioritized for a hotfix the same way Apex Legends was. But no. And I can't help but look at this through the lens of profit. Apex Legends is bigger and makes more money. Absolutely. It's a logical thing to prioritize that title, but when you leave dedicated fans out in the cold for years on end, ignoring them whenever they try to get help, don't be surprised when they resort to increasingly extreme tactics. Titanfall as a franchise is being torn apart by hackers, and it's incredibly sad to witness. It's a great franchise with some great games, but under the direction of EA and Respawn, it's been allowed to fester and rot in a way that I have hardly ever seen before in my entire video game career. It's truly a unique situation to have a dedicated and meticulous hacker hellbent on destroying the franchise get free reign by the company for multiple years, but when the community turns on itself like this, that's when it's clear that things have gone too far. EA and Respawn need to step in and do something. They need to fix this. That's it. If you want to support, there are links down below. Merchandise, another YouTube platform alternative called Odyssey for those who want to branch out. Locals, which is like Patreon but better, $5 a month for ad-free videos and audio podcast versions as well. Also another gaming YouTuber to check out and some other stuff too, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching and have a nice night.